It is so easy to go out there and shit all over Overwatch. You can make stupid tweets on Twitter. You can just absolutely hammer the game with videos. It is a very easy target. But what I want to do in this video is talk about maybe the reasons why we should be looking forward to Overwatch 2 and why I am looking forward to Overwatch 2. Because it is the chance where they can fix a lot of these absolutely terrible problems. And you know what? The game is in a bad state right now. Not in terms of the way it plays fine. But it is very much end of life. It's a piece of software that Blizzard are barely supporting because they're working on Overwatch 2. All right, let's get stuck into this. I think it's fair for me to say that I probably am one of the biggest fans of this game there is. I mean, I've been to every single major event. I have made thousands of videos, hundreds of millions of views. I have done so much stuff with Overwatch because I love this game and I want to see the game succeed. So when I go out there and I may say things like, oh my God, I wish they did this or they did that or blah, 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 this or that, it comes from a good place. And this is very much the same for all of you guys watching this video. You like this game. You might even love this game and you want to see the game do well. But the fact is, the cold, hard facts of life are after 2017, the game had no new seasonal events. The game had minimal new heroes added to it. Yes, it had loads of balance changes, whatever. You know, they're neither here nor there. We don't really care about those. We had some maps, hilariously, 2 of which were deleted from the game because they were so bad. Yeah, Paris and Horizon, obviously. So there are problems with Overwatch, right? There's no content. Now, obviously, in that period of time from 2017 to where we are now, they were working on Overwatch 2. Now, we will never know why they decided to make a bloody sequel to Overwatch. It makes no sense. This should be an expansion pack, a major upgrade, whatever you want to call it, to the actual base game. Instead, they're going for the sequel. Maybe it's something to do with management. We'll never know, right? I don't think the developers necessarily wanted a sequel, but again, we don't know. All of this is just hearsay. I have no solid evidence which points one way or the other. But the fact is, the hole that they have dug for themselves with this massive content drought meant they had to come out swinging with a mega update. They had to come out and go, here we go, here's a sequel. Or they could have gone down the route of like Dota, where you do a massive upgrade. It's like, this is version 2 of Overwatch. Let's go. That could have been really cool if they did that. But anyway, we're into Overwatch 2 development. You may have noticed recently on the channel, I've been uploading what are called shorts on YouTube. Basically a TikTok, but for YouTube. And what it is a under 1 minute video where you can do whatever you like. And I've started to do it for each of the heroes, putting together their backstory. Now, obviously, I've only got a minute, so I have to miss out a bunch of details. But I tried to get in all of the main points. But you know what? I've made 3 of these so far. I've made Mercy, I've made Genji, and I've made Tracer. And the amount of lore those heroes have got is absolutely mental, especially Tracer. Tons and tons of lore. Mercy, tons and tons of lore. But you know what? Where the hell is this lore? Well, it's all in mini stories. It's all in various comics. It's just all over the place. It's not actually in the game. But it did make me think, you know what? These guys actually know what they're doing. Well, that's being a cheeky little git saying they know what they're doing. But the developers know how to put together stories. They know how to put together heroes. They know how to make them look. They know how to make them work. But they just haven't been doing it with Overwatch beyond actually developing and pushing the heroes out there. There is no repository in the game where there's all the lore brought together. Maybe there will be for Overwatch 2, which should be lore heavy because we're getting all of these PvE missions. But what I'm saying is, guys, there is a very rich and vibrant world there which they have not tapped into. There is a quote, and this is going off memory, but it is from a while ago now, and it was the whole idea where Michael Chu said, hey, we're building a new Marvel universe, and that's what the Overwatch universe is going to be. It didn't really turn out like that, although, to begin with, it kind of did. When we were getting animated shorts, new heroes were popping up, all the stories were intertwining. I mean, just look at the Dragon cinematic, right? Genji, Hanzo, the stories being built. That is absolute top-tier lore, story, franchise development. It is the best in the industry. And then they stopped, and then they did nothing, seemingly, from our point of view, but actually, I presume they were working on Overwatch 2, and then eventually in 2019, they show us Overwatch 2 BlizzCon, of which I was one of the first person to play that. Actually, outside of Blizzard, to play it. As soon as it went live, sat down, played it, streamed it, played with a bunch of other guys as well, and it was fun, but we had some reservations, like, is this kind of it? There wasn't really any progression, but it did, you know, it felt okay, it felt fun to play. But it was kind of a bit of it was a lie. You know what I mean? It was a big lie from Blizzard. That wasn't really where the game was. That, I believe, was literally the only thing they had built for Overwatch 2 at that moment in time. But it made it feel like they had an entire game, and they were just showing us one mission. Everything was ready to go, and we're going to give you all of this. But that was not the case. And now we fast forward to 2021, and we're sitting here like, well, yeah, we know it's not coming out this year, but we know it's, well, hopefully coming out next year. If it doesn't come out next year, then I don't know what's going on at Blizz. But what did we get this year? Well, we got a PvP update back in February. Was it February? I can't even remember. No, February was the BlizzCon Online, right? Yeah, where they just sort of spoke about it. And then obviously Jeff left, and then yada, yada, yada. Then we fast forward to the PvP event where Blizzard say, you know what? We're making Overwatch 5v5. Now, the reaction to this at the time was like, what the F are you doing, Blizzard? I was, again, on this live stream. You see what I mean, guys, at the top of the video? And I say, like, I've been involved in pretty much everything Overwatch has done at any major state, like, in the game's development, in the game's life. And I love this game. I absolutely love this game. So I don't think there's anyone really better suited to sit here and go on a bit of a rant and say, you know what, I am looking forward to Overwatch 2 if they can get certain things right. Anyway, they bring out PvP update. They show us it's 5v5. I'm sitting there and they're showing me push, and I'm thinking this actually looks fairly good for push, because having 2 tanks on push means you could kind of choke up the payload, or well, it's not, is it a barricade? I don't even know what it's called. You can kind of choke up the control point that moves, and it's not as dynamic, it's not as fluid. 5v5 though, you've only got 1 tank, so yeah, there's a lot more action, there's a lot more ways of moving around. But those maps, you can argue, are designed for 5v5. If you then suddenly go all the other modes 5v5 with all the existing maps that we've got, that's when it's like thrown up in the air. Is this going to work? Isn't it going to work? The main thing to remember here, guys, is nobody plays tank in Overwatch. Now, there's going to be tank players out there going, you're talking shit, Stike. Everyone plays tank. I play tank. You play tank. Yeah, sure. But nobody plays tank in Overwatch, right? When you look at the player populations, there's tons of DPS, there's supports, and then there's tank. The tank queue is always the fastest queue at any level of the game. I can guarantee that. Unless you're at some like extremely low level, like 200 SR or 100 SR, or some mega high level. Well, in fact, at mega high levels, it would be fast. Maybe there are some anomalies, but on the whole, you're getting a game really fast. So Blizzard, by reducing the number of tanks required in a game, means they can actually fulfill and start more games. Because instead of 2 tanks starting one, well, think of it in terms of 2 teams, right? So you need 4 tanks to start a match of Overwatch. Now you only need 2 tanks to start a match of Overwatch, right? 1 tank on each team. So you get more games, which means if you've got more DPS players and support, well, then they've got more chance of getting into games. They have faster queue times. It's a good change. Also, it means that the game is less busy from a spectator's point of view. So things like Overwatch League should be better to watch. Now, Overwatch League, this is something we do need to talk about. Because if you go back and you look at the development of Overwatch, the game comes out and it's got a loot box system, but they also charge you for the game. Now, at the time, this was controversial because you don't have both. You don't go, okay, we're going to sell you the game and then we're going to do microtransactions. That's a bit cheeky. But Blizzard, at the time, this is what Blizzard always do, is they take something that works and they refine it and they make it Blizzardy, they polish it up, and it's better. And it's usually the best iteration or version of that thing, whatever that thing may be. In this case, loot boxes. So loot boxes come out and they had a pretty crap drop rate. So what would happen is, not a drop rate, but a crap chance of getting items. So you get a lot of duplicate items in the loot boxes. That was changed, so then you got less duplicate items. Now, of course, you earned loot boxes through just playing the game. You didn't have to buy them. There were plenty of other games out there. I think most notably Battlefront 2 at the time, where you bought the game and then you had to buy the loot boxes. You couldn't just earn them playing the game. So with Blizzard, you could earn them playing the game, and you had a chance of getting any kind of level of item out of it, legendary skins, normal skins, blah, 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 all of that stuff. So they were good on the face of that. The problem is, through 2016 and 17, that model just died out, and you ended up with a model like Fortnite where you just went in and bought whatever you wanted, and that you see now in a lot of modern games. Blizzard didn't do that. They stay with a loot box system. But then enter Overwatch League, and this is where it all comes into this crazy little story that I'm trying to weave. Overwatch League sold a bunch of franchises in excess of $200 million. I think it was like $250 million in the end. They sold all of these teams for. That's a lot of money. They had to use a lot of that money to put on Overwatch League, but there's a ton of cash they're generating there. I honestly believe Overwatch League was meant to be the way Overwatch made money long term. And I reckon because things maybe got out of hand, maybe people weren't buying loot boxes as often as they used to. People weren't actually spending money on Overwatch. People weren't really buying Overwatch League merchandise. They weren't really getting invested in Overwatch League. And obviously, we know we never had any of the events that were held. But a lot of the money from the events would just go to the teams, not directly to Blizzard. But what I'm trying to say is, Blizzard had a product in Overwatch League, and it didn't make as much money as they needed it to make. So then that impacts Overwatch. And then Overwatch, because it's not making money off its microtransactions, then gets reviewed internally, and they say, how are we making money off this game? And they're like, we need to add content to the game. Then they look at their stats and go, well, we're adding content, but people are not really buying the stuff that we're adding because we give them the heroes for free. You know what I'm saying, guys? There's no incentive. So I think what happened was, it was just a case of management going, you know what, guys, go away and make a sequel. It's the only chance you've got to make this game make money. And if you can't do that, then we'll do things like set the game free to play, radically change the store, and do all that kind of stuff. And I honestly think that's the case while we're sitting in a world here of waiting for Overwatch 2. Now, let's go back to the whole thing of Overwatch 2. Is it a bad idea? Is it a good idea? And why I'm optimistic and why I'm looking forward to it. So, firstly, it is a chance for Blizzard to redeem themselves. They have mismanaged Overwatch quite heavily. Now, I'm not saying this is the developers that have done this. I'm saying it's Blizzard that have done this. Having no content in what was the biggest game on the planet in 2016 and partway into 2017. From 2017 till now, having such minimal content with just a few hero launches is criminal. Like, that is absolutely terrible. But again, as we briefly discussed in this video, it's all those other elements combined. Overwatch League, loot boxes, you know, all of that stuff added together. So they've got a chance to fix all of this, right? Which means they should be able to add more content. Now, this is where I get a little bit worried, because when Overwatch 2 comes out, will it have the same amount of splash or level of splash that Overwatch had when it launched? No. And the reason why is simply because Overwatch was a brand new IP. Nobody knew what the game was. It just suddenly came out. Boom, look at this game. Oh my god, Overwatch. Now, everybody in the gaming world knows what Overwatch is. So they're not going to be like, oh my god, what is this radical game? I've never seen this before in my life. Oh my god, who's this Reinhardt? No, everybody knows who these heroes are. They know what the world is. So it's going to be more difficult. But there is a redeeming feature here. There are a lot of players out there who do not play Overwatch. They maybe picked it up at launch, maybe played it for a bit, then stopped playing it. They have no incentive to come back to the game. But a sequel will give them incentive to come back to the game. So reactivating all of these lapsed players is a very good thing if you can bring in as well new players. So maybe there is a chance to get some good figures when the game launches. Now, my problem will be, how long will that last? Are we just then going to go into a world of, well, here's a load of content, and then we're just going to have to wait now 6 months before we do anything with it? What really worries me with Blizzard is look at their other games. Look at World of Warcraft. This is the other game they've got that they constantly add content to. Look how long it takes for them to update that game. It takes an age, and the WoW community are always moaning, like 8-9 months between any kind of update. It's crazy. It's like, what are they doing? I don't want Overwatch to fall into that trap, because if it does, that'll be the death of Overwatch. This, to me, is very much it's the last chance saloon for the game. And I think it's very risky that Blizzard have decided to go the sequel route, go quiet and then drop a sequel, because if it doesn't work, if it falls on its face, you ain't coming back from that. You know what I'm saying, guys? You're dead. You're done. Your game is over. You then just have a game which is fine and it's on the periphery. It's not a main, massive population. Everybody's playing it. Everybody's loving it. Everybody then, by extension, is, I don't know, watching on the Overwatch League and all of that crap. Now, there is also another good thing here, crossplay. Now, I know this has had some issues with PC because it is now basically putting you on the data center that will work better for you in terms of ping and get you a fast game. Now, there are a lot of players out there who, maybe if you were in the UK, you might want to connect to East Coast America or even the West Coast of America, or even if you're in Europe, let's say, at certain times of the day. You can't really do that anymore. So there's been some outcry about that. But honestly, I think that is, like, who cares about that? You want games fast. You want good pings, you want a good experience. That's it, right? Swapping the servers around and all that, yeah, it makes sense if you're playing at the ultra-high level of the game, which, let's be real, hardly anybody is in terms of player population. Or maybe it makes sense, like, if you had some friends somewhere else. But even then, you can still group together and play together anyway. And I think it just works out what servers kind of throw you on. So if you had American friends and you were in Europe, you can still group together and it'll put you on whatever server will work. One of you will have a decent ping and one will have a dodgy ping. But hey, whatever. Now, that's going to be really good, crossplay, because it means that now with PvE, which doesn't need to be competitive, you can play with all your console friends. Like, there is a world I see where we sit down, I'm on PC, I'm playing with a friend on Switch and a friend on Xbox. There you go. And then a friend on PlayStation. That's 4 players. That's a PvE mission. We're all on different platforms. We're all having a good time. And that's what the game should be about. So I think crossplay is a massive, massive boon for that. So be under no illusions. It is a big, big upgrade for Overwatch 2. What about animated shorts? Now, I did touch on lore earlier on in this video. And animated shorts are amazing. They are absolutely incredible. Every single one of the animated shorts for this game are just... They would win an award on their own. I mean, the Bastion one is incredible. The Reinhardt one is incredible. Dragons is incredible. They're just amazing. The May cinematic, amazing. I still think it's mental that they haven't made a Mercy one. You would think that Mercy would be the one they would make the first one for. But, yeah, I mean, even Diva, the Shooting Star cinematic. Again, that was another event I went to. Literally flew to Korea just to see that. I mean, what? Like, mental. Yeah, we need more of those. So the good thing is, with Overwatch 2, we should get more animated shorts. I just hope they keep making them. Because, again, they're very expensive to make. And if the game isn't making money because people are not playing it, then they stop making it. And it's really worrying. Progression system. Now, this is something that we have seen information on from February this year from BlizzConline. And it looked way better than it did in any other version that we've seen before. But there are still a bunch of questions with this. How do we level up our heroes? Is it restricted to one hero? Yes, we're selecting talents for heroes, and that's great, and we can play a certain way, but will there be a case of you only ever play Reinhardt this way, you don't ever use any of the other talents? And of course, all these talents are restricted to PvE. They don't actually feature in PvP, sorry. So yeah, like it's still questions there to ask, but at least it gives us another reason to play the game, and that's the main point here. What is the reason to play Overwatch right now? Well, there isn't really that much of a reason beyond purely enjoying the game, which you could argue that should be reason enough. The thing is, though, you do need something to work towards. I always like to compare to Apex Legends here. So if I log into Apex, yeah, I just want to play the game. I just get me in, let me play the game. But there are different daily missions I can do, like maybe get so many kills or do so many damage with a shotgun or whatever. It gives you something to do. It spices up the play. That's what Overwatch 2 needs, and I'm hoping that's the direction they go in. I think it is, because when we look at the hero missions, which just take place at various flashpoints all over the globe on existing maps, they're going to change every day. So I see a world where we log in and it just goes, oh, King's Row, Route 66, Busan. Just, you basically go to those missions, do whatever the mission is, and then you get your whatever your rewards are and all of that stuff. But giving you a reason to play. See, because the thing is, when I look at it from a competitive player's point of view, and I've got to be honest, I don't think this is actually the way you should be playing Overwatch. So for years, I have just been comp. I just would play comp. I wouldn't really entertain quick play. Wouldn't play any of the arcade modes. Because like I was obsessed with getting better at the game, and that for me was the progression. But there comes a point where you hit a wall, right? And it happens to all of us. It's either a skill wall or you just get frustrated. And I think for me, it was a frustration wall with competitive, with players just not really paying attention. Well, how can you say this? Because it's really easy to blame your team or sound like you're blaming your team. But you have all been there, right? So you play games and games of Overwatch, maybe you're getting close to your career high, and then you start losing a bunch of games, and you're wondering why. Maybe you do a VOD review, and you're like, well, actually, I played quite well there, so what the hell? And then suddenly you look at your Ana player who is just doing DPS, and you're like, well, what's going on here? So there's always that. It always plays in the back of your mind. Whether it's true or whether it's not, it plays in the back of your mind. And I think that it's a cumulative effect over time. And then you start thinking to yourself, why the hell do I care? Why do I bother? Because the only other reason to play competitive for is a golden weapon skin, which is crap. You know what I mean? It's like, what? And we know Blizzard don't, well, we know Jeff don't like them, but Jeff's not even at Blizzard anymore, so it doesn't matter what Jeff thinks anymore. So we'll have to wait and see what they do with rewards and progression. Although I do think Scott Mercer and maybe Aaron said something about maybe changing up some of the rewards, but they're still not happy about golden weapons, so they probably will go. But hey, a lot of that is still up in the air. Which is another point. Overwatch 2 is very much up in the air. We all watched the PvP update, and the game was nowhere near finished. Yes, they had new maps. Yes, they had some hero redesigns done. But a lot of the heroes were still using existing skins. And you'd think that is the baseline foundation work that needs to be done, actually updating the models. And so there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of holes. They haven't reworked a lot of the heroes because they need to be changed to work in 5v5 environment. All the tanks need changing. There's all of these things. So there's so much work to do. And again, that makes me worried, thinking, well, this is going to be quite like, is it the end of 2022 it comes out? Maybe even 2023? I'll have to wait and see. And we really need a launch date. And this just goes beyond me being a YouTuber that makes content on Overwatch. This is, if you take this from the perspective of a content creator, they want to play a game that they enjoy and they love, that doesn't become stale, and that they can keep covering and keep supporting with content. We are now, like I said at the top of this video, in the end of life phase of Overwatch, where it is stale. Yeah, the game's still fun to play, but it's stale. It's, oh my god, you still play Overwatch in 2021. Oh my god, what the hell, Overwatch? It hasn't had no new content for ages. Why are you still playing this game? Blah, 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 blah. So when you've got something that does update more frequently, that has new content, new life being injected into it, it changes the conversation around the game. It lets creators make more varied and dynamic content on the game. Somebody said to me on Twitter, and it made me laugh, this did. It said content creators for Overwatch have just become glorified skin reviewers. And I laughed. I think I said something like, well, yeah, that's absolutely wank. That it is. That's bad. I don't mind looking at skins, and I think it's cool to check them out. But when that's your only thing you're doing, it becomes a problem. And you're like, well, this is actually kind of bad. What the hell am I doing just looking at skins? I'm not even playing this game. I'm just looking at skins. That is just terrible. Like, that's not a place you want to be in. So with a launch date, we would have something to look forward to. There would be light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And again, it's not just about content creators. It's about all of you guys out there. One of the things that really confused me with the PvP stream is they were saying, like, guys, we're going to 5v5, and they're not giving you a launch date for Overwatch 2. So if you play with 5 friends, so you're in a group of 6, what you're saying to those players is, guys, the game that you're playing together now, you can only play it until Overwatch 2 comes out, and then one of your friends can't play. So why would you keep invested in that game? Why would you carry on playing that game if one of your friend group can't play with you anymore? Or maybe you've got a tank duo, so you're just 2 friends, but you're both tanks and you play together. Well, you can't anymore because there's only 1 tank in the game. So things like that are really weird. And they do make me think that maybe the game's closer than it is, than we think. But then I look at all the stuff like hardly any hero rework seem to be done. Loads of balance changes need to be done. Who knows what the state of PvE is right now. Maybe we'll get an update about that at some point in the future. But the moral and the fact of this video is, guys, I am still optimistic about Overwatch 2. For all the doom and gloom, for all the, oh my god, there's no content, and all of this stuff, it is still Overwatch, and it still has potential to make things happen. It still has potential to be an absolutely incredible game. And with the addition of PvE, everything is going for Overwatch, really. Just going to be a case of how do they manage it and how do they handle it. And hopefully they don't give us a year and a bit of content, then go, let's make Overwatch free. Because at that point, I think I'm done. I am literally done at that point. I will not accept that. That is complete travesty. All right? All right, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Try and stay optimistic. And I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.